is popping, everybody? Oh, it's Wednesday and I'm feeling spicy. Thank you, Addie, for sharing that word. Yesterday, I was doing a radio show with the amazing Susan Alette of Susanity. And we interviewed this beautiful soul who was saying she's neurospicy. So today I'm like, I'm feeling spicy. So, and inspired after such a joy filled evening of unexpected gifts and blessings. And then, around this lesson that I was reminded of today, and I really wanted to jump on, guys, at 7:22 in the morning. Number 122 is one of my favorite numbers, so shout out to that. Um, but guys, our thoughts have power. Our thoughts create energy. There's just immense scientific evidence in the field of quantum theory and physics that proves that what we think creates an energetic vibration in the ripple of the universe, of infinity, of whatever you want to call it, right? And so I was reading today a quote that said, our thoughts are the only thing that has the power to hurt us. And I was like, damn right. And as I read that, I was reminded of a saying that I love and I lean into quite often when I'm choosing love over fear, which is wisdom is avoiding all thoughts that weaken us. And what do I mean by that, guys? Well, for a long time, I thought I was a piece of crap. That was a thought. That was a firm belief. And so everything that I thought about reinforced the belief that I was worthless. And guess what? Because I believed that, the world reflected back to me what it is I believed. So, as I started to do this work on myself and get clarity around, just the fact that we're conditioned, that we're a product of our environment that we grew up in, we're a product of the mistakes and the lessons and the blessings that we've been um, gifted. I started to change. I questioned the belief. And as I questioned the belief, my thoughts changed. Because my thoughts changed, I started to experience life differently. I started to experience people who affirmed me rather than spoke poorly to me. I experienced people who were willing to help me and extend themselves rather than be surrounded by people who were out for themselves because they themselves were a reflection of me. And that's the reality, guys, is our thoughts create the experiences we have. And when we are aware of the thoughts we are having, we can make different choices. But I want to go a little bit deeper around our thoughts have the power to put us in fear, weaken us, or empower us. That is true. However, if you recognize that you have a thought and you don't examine the belief behind those thoughts, all you're going to do is vacillate between a thought that feels icky, sticky, yucky, judgy, or a thought that feels more empowering, more uplifting, more kind and gentle. And so it's amazing to recognize what it is you're thinking because we are a product of our thoughts. They've determined that we think between 60 and 80,000 thoughts a day. But those thoughts are direct in correlation with your unconscious belief, right? Like a belief that you might have that you're not aware of. And if you're not aware of it, the first thing to do is to get curious about how you feel. Because if the thought is making you feel icky, there's some type of belief up in there that's saying that you're unworthy, that you're not good enough, that you need to be in fear, that whatever, right? I mean, it's a limitless, the beliefs that people subscribe to. Um, and then once you're aware of that belief, you get to decide to change it. I.e., my example, I grew up believing I was worthless, that I didn't deserve to experience joy, all these things. as soon as I realized, one, that belief made me feel like crap, and who wants to exist in a world when you feel like crap? I don't. I decided, okay, well, let's stack evidence against that belief, right? Let's choose to just question whether or not this belief is real or not. And so I asked myself, what is it that, um, how do I show up? How do people view me? How do I view myself really outside of other people's expectations, outside of other people's opinions? And I realized I was funny. I was super, super curious. I was really compassionate. I was able to take people's opinions and appreciate the fact that they're showing up and sharing them, but also not subscribing to them, which means I felt empowered, which means that I wasn't worthless, which in that respect, I had the power to change my thoughts. And in my ability to change my thoughts, I had the power to change my experience in life. Right. And that's really what I encourage people to do, is to question their own thinking and how they experience life, because at the end of the day, we have the power to change our entire world just with the way that we think, with the way that we um show up in service, right? And here's the beautiful thing. I have wonderful people watching this right now, and some of them feel very adverse to who I am. And then other people resonate with it. And that's the gift we give ourselves, is that when we feel good about ourselves, we really don't worry about the good opinion of others. It's not that we don't value other people. It's not that we don't honor them and who they are. It's that their thoughts around us isn't going to influence who we are and how we show up. To Terrence, thank you for your kind words. Steve, thank you for putting in your opinion. I appreciate it. To Hugh and to Intuit 90, again, thank you for dropping a comment. I appreciate your taking energy out of your day. And to David, I this channel is all about, I mean, it's about a lot of things because I do a lot of things. But at the end of the day, I fundamentally believe that when we show up fully expressed as ourselves outside of the box that we have been placed in by society, by our family, by, just culture, then we step into our superpower. And ultimately, I really want to encourage people to show up as their unique individual selves, whatever that looks like, whatever that feels like for themselves. I had this amazing conversation with a gentleman I just met at a restaurant yesterday. We were sitting at the bar. I was eating some food, and this awesome guy, Sam, showed up, and we had the best conversation. We vehemently disagreed about certain positions, right? He's a Marine vet. He shows up in all of that. But the thing about it is he shows up as himself. He is unapologetically himself. And that's a gift he gives to the world. And for me, I feel the same way. And so, to your point, David, I jump on as myself, hopefully encouraging other people to show up as themselves. And that means I could sing to you. It means that I could laugh, or it means that I could hopefully impart a little bit of the wisdom that I've acquired in my journey. Um, on to you guys. So if nothing else, you have something else to consider, a different perspective, because perspective is everything. And guys, I'm going to tell you right now, I spent 20 plus years in a victimized perspective. The world is against me. Nothing's my fault. Woe is me. I drank 2 bottles of wine. I struggle with addiction. I did a lot of things, and I don't even judge myself for that. I did the best I could with what I knew. But when I started to learn that I had the power to shift my perspective, then I also learned that I have the power to change the experiences I were having. And that is truly where our thoughts come into play, guys. We have been gifted this beautiful tool, which is called willpower. And we've been gifted this beautiful tool, which is called taking action. And we've been gifted this beautiful, my most favorite tool, which is curiosity. Curiosity. And my point is if you feel icky sticky, then ask yourself why. Just ask yourself why. That question alone can open up a world that you have never ever thought you would experience. And in that curiosity, you can then learn what feels better for you, what doesn't feel good for you, and then choose differently, make a different choice. For many years, I chose drugs and alcohol. For many years, I chose climbing the corporate ladder to success, despite the fact that I was doing things that I did not love to do. And yet, the minute I became aware that I had another choice, I stepped into another choice. But it's again, it's empowering yourself. Connie, you are beautiful too, girlfriend. I love you. And Terrence, preach. I love it. Um, guys, the reality is when we show up in curiosity and uh we suspend what we think we know. And what I mean by that is even I walk into seminars, webinars, lessons, rooms with people, and I suspend everything I think I know, because when I suspend what I think I know, I open up my mind to potentially learn something new. Also, when I suspend what I think I know, I get to break down this illusionary barrier that because you look a certain way, or you come from a different background or culture, or you have a disability that I've never experienced, that creates a separateness. I realize that we are all connected. We are unified in this really beautiful power that's an energetic exchange of what I believe is love. And so that is really truly where I come from. So, can a person be addicted to another? Oh yeah, people are addicted to people all the time. In fact, I would say to anybody out there, one of the greatest addictions is attachment to another person. You know, the reality is real love is unconditional, and you give it freely without placing expectations or constraints on other people. And, Terrence, to your point, willpower comes over time. Trust and believe. You don't think it was easy for me to not go to the refrigerator and drink the first bottle of wine or second bottle of wine, or even more than that. Let me give you a better example. I had this belief that my success was derived on how far I could climb the corporate ladder, which meant I was at work from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. some nights. I have two daughters. I didn't know, I wasn't present for my daughters. My marriage fell apart in part because I was not around to nurture and foster that marriage. And so I had to learn willpower to change the belief that I had to work that much in order to be successful. That takes willpower. And I'm going to use a dear friend of mine, Ariana. She used it yesterday in the radio show we had. Um, we talked about meditation. And she was like, well, meditating for me is recognizing that I'm ruminating on a thought that doesn't serve me and choosing to listen to music, lyrics that I know. And every time that thought creeps in, I come back to the song that's on and I sing that song. That's willpower. And so you just practice it every day. And the other thing I would encourage you to do when it comes to willpower, guys, is um celebrate the crap out of yourself. Here's the thing, if we know that our mind is like subject to think negatively, and it is, right? It just is. It's biology. Cool. We got to live with what we have. It's what we got to work with. So instead of judging it and being hard on yourself, um, you just have to have a lot of sex. Well, if that makes you happy, Troy, do you. My job isn't to judge anybody. If you're happy doing that, do that. But what I will say is when you celebrate yourself, you rewire your brain. You rewire your brain to start to affirm yourself. Because at the end of the day, right, most of us are slaves to the good opinion of other people, which means we don't even know how to affirm ourselves. Additionally, most of us, right? Oh, thank you so much, Catherine Cypher. She is a two-time author, an amazing piano teacher, guys. Shout out. And she writes beautiful poetry. She has a book, Barely a Whisper. I will shout you out, girl, because it's a book that I encourage my clients to read when they need a little something to remind them that, sometimes we just need a little nudge, and it's those barely whispering thoughts that give us our superpower to move forward, and grow and expand and step into our limitless power, which we all are. But anyway, going back to what you said, Terrence, because I think it's really important that people understand this. If you cannot affirm yourself, if you cannot look at yourself in the eye and say you love yourself, if you cannot look at yourself and say you are worthy, that you are enough, that even when you fall flat on your face and fail forward, which I do all the time, that I deserve to be loved, that I deserve to be wrapped up and embraced and encouraged, then you will never experience that from another person. And that's why people get addicted to other people, because the reality is we are looking to be affirmed externally from a lover, from a friend, from a mother, from a child, right? I see it in parents all the time. They wrap their whole life up in their children. And the reality is you'll never be fulfilled because you're a slave to another person's opinion of you, which means when you fall short, and you will, because we're 8 billion different people with different expectations, different needs, which means you're going to let somebody down. You were then a slave to their idea of you because you did not meet their needs. And that is really important. And so I established willpower by moment choices, right? Choosing not to drink that bottle of wine and instead calling a friend and telling them I'm struggling, or doing a workout or going for a walk or breathing. And then celebrating myself. When the moment passed, when I no longer was in the grip of leaning into that liquor or wanting to numb out, celebrating the fact that I showed up for myself. And in doing that, I have to tell you, I love myself, guys. And I am perfectly imperfect. I cuss like a trailer. I let my kids down. I sometimes mess up and offend somebody. I don't show up in perfection, and yet I love myself. You know what I'm saying? And that's a real gift that we can give to ourselves. And when we give it to ourselves, we give it to the world, guys, because quantum science and physics proves that fear vibrates, right? If we're energy, and we all have this energy that vibrates, fear vibrates at a very low level. It's very low. Love vibrates at a very high level. And the more you vibrate, the more you attract that loving energy, and the less you vibrate, the more you attract that lower energy. And so I encourage you to love. Just choose to love yourself, give yourself grace, give yourself compassion, recognize we didn't step into this human experience for perfection. We stepped into it to have a human experience, which means it's messy, it's icky, it's sticky sometimes, and yet it's a gift that we give ourselves. And yet, coming back full circle, guys, this is what I really want to leave you with today. Your thoughts have the power to imprison you or to free you, and it's ultimately up to you. But if you recognize, if you become aware of the thoughts you're having, and the fact that they're either limiting you to this icky sticky, and I say icky sticky because if you don't feel joy, it's probably not a thought that serves you. And if you do feel joy, it's probably a thought that benefits you, right? Just saying. Um then ask yourself why you have that thought. And then before you just try to pick another thought, which some people do, they're like, oh, uh, wow, I look really fat today. No, I look pretty and I look pretty. Ask yourself why. Get to the core belief of that, because when you get to the core belief of that, you can release that belief and then you free yourself from thousands of thoughts that no longer serve you. So, you know, that's all I got for you. And for all you beautiful people who opted to comment, whether your comments align with me or it just feels good for you, i.e., Troy Rays, whatever, then I appreciate your energy exchange. And I love you all immensely. And I wish you a joy, laughter, and love filled Wednesday, filled with curiosity, filled with I don't laughter, guys. Just laugh, because really at the end of the day, it's all we got is our perspective and joy and laughter. So big love to all of you. Thank you for your presence and your time. And I will check you on the flip side. Mm-mm-mm.